So today I want to talk about essentially how Outlaws is abusing chokes
Ironic.
with their Junker Queen brawl comp, or jokes, as some people would call it. What I think is important to understand is there is a few general positioning things that they do really well, and they have a good understanding of like when to hold chokes. So if you look at this, these three people normally stack together. Then you normally have a roaming Genji, and then you normally have a Sojourn who plays longer distance. Now, the idea why you want these three people together is a Lucio essentially peels, so if someone does go on the Junker Queen, Lucio can boop them back. The Brig is there to actually be up more, so the Brig can actually hit Inspire as well as having frontal pressure. Plus, if someone pushes the Brig, they're also pushing the Junker Queen, which then means the Junker Queen's easily able to know what's going on. As well as, again, the Brig's also there because of Peel Flail, and the Lucio's be able to peel both of these people. The Genji's taking an off angle because the Genji wants to hold somewhat off space, like another area or another lane, while still holding space. But sometimes the Genji might still be stacked with your core because it's too dangerous and to like take an off angle, as well as if the Genji takes an off angle, then the Genji could like take a lot of poke damage, which is inherently bad because you only have limited packs and you may not be in Lucio's passive heal range. And Sojourn is normally going to play a long sight line around a corner so that you're able to abuse that. This is also important to this general positioning is because it makes it hard for enemy Sojourn to actually kill somebody. Because the only person really the Sojourn can now really kill is the enemy Sojourn if they're playing the positioning poorly. Or, honestly, maybe the Genji, if the Genji's out, but even normally Genji has Reflect or playing corner as well. And normally you'll see actually Sojourns kill Lucio a lot because Lucio is like wall running in bad positions. But if the Lucio plays around the Junker Queen Brig and plays the environment well, it's going to be very hard. So I'm going to show you 3 different examples here about how Outlaws is holding chokes, whether it's a spawn hold or just a general hold, and how they're actually getting insane value out of it. So if you look at this fight right over here, it's going to be really interesting. So we'll see that Atlanta has Rally, Beat, Blade, and Sojourn almost, and Outlaws has three ultimates. Now, one of the biggest things with Jote's comp is understanding that double support ult is huge. Obviously, looking to trade that is, good. So, like, what I mean by that is if Pelican uses Blade, that forces Beat, then maybe, they rally in, then, like, left then maybe has to, trade Beat, which is not as good. So, doing some type of poke thing. So, if you notice what happens here, which makes this very interesting, is that Dante is, like, poking and being really aggressive. He now kites this corner right over here, and when he does this, he backs up. Alastro immediately bashes out. So, one sec, I'll show you from here again. And you can see Sojourn's right up there taking that long sightline I was talking about. So, Blastro on top safe, he just backs out. But right over here, you'll notice Lep comes in here and boops people out to peel. Now, there's multiple people looking at Dante, and they're thinking that they can actually kill Dante. But the fact of the matter is they can't. Because Lep had really good peels, as well as Lastro is also giving Inspire, plus probably a pack to Dante. This enables Pelican and Merit to do a lot of work, because probably like almost half the team right now is looking at Dante and wasting their actual active damage. Now, Blade comes in from Pelican, and he goes on Hawk, and because they're in a choke, and they're all, like, pushing out of a choke together, obviously Blade is going to get a lot of value. They're just going to inherently get a lot of value because they're pushing out of a choke together. Now, granted, how would you deal with the situation? Well, it's still tricky, because you don't want to necessarily just use an ult to take space. That's bad, but in unfortunately Overwatch 2, sometimes you have to do that. There are a few easy ways you can just do this. You can look for a rotation bait where you maybe look to go like this, and then you come out over here, and you basically maximize the distance from where the enemy's core is, so they don't put a lot of pressure. If the enemy's core is over here and you push over here, the Junker Queen, Brig, Lucio inherently won't be able to do as much. Another example of this is that if you understand where their core is positioning right over here, you can look to sort of have someone like maybe like a Genji try and poke and try and force them out. Now, obviously, poking Queen could work, and like you can like have multiple people try and poke the Queen, and just poke to the point where they use all the packs and the Queen can't sustain anymore, or the Queen has to use Shout, and that could work. But the problem with that is you're also poking, and like the enemy, it's not like the enemy Genji, or Sojourn who's like back here is not doing anything, or enemy Genji, or the Genji is not doing anything. They're doing stuff too. So instead of maybe poking the Queen, what you could do is you could actually poke supports or DPS and force them out, which then make it a lot harder for the Queen or to get support. And if you poke like the Brig out or Lucio out, then again, there's no speed, there's no boop. You poke the Sojourn out or Genji out, then there's more space for your DPS to be able to do more. So hopefully that makes sense how to push through chokes. let's now look at the second example here. So this was a really interesting example here too. What I'll also talk about is a general understanding of chokes. If you're noticing, most of the times that like outlaws are holding these hard chokes is when there's basically only realistically 2 ways the enemy team can really come out of. And because there's only 2 ways, it's really easy for you to be able to mark those situations. This is sort of like similar to how you would spawn camp. And I'm pretty sure I made a video on spawn camping on YouTube, so you can definitely go check that out. So here again, we're going to see our Junker Queen, Brig, holding together, Lucio somewhat close, our Sojourn's a little further back, our Genji's sort of roaming. Now they're looking to sort of hard pressure this area, and then they have long sight lines there. Now in this situation, it's sort of a neutral based fight, but because like holding chokes is good, gives our Brig an inherent advantage. So Dante just manages to catch Speedly out, and they just push in and they get a big pick. And the reason why I'm like showing this is not because like, oh, he just got a pick, but the concept is it's how do you flank? Like legitimately, how do you flank here? It is so hard to flank here. Like, it's just not possible, right? So, because if the enemy team tries to push through here, then you can just match it. And let's see, let's keep going here. Okay, so I think this fight just finishes here. And now over here, if you look at this, they look to spawn hold, but they didn't really do a proper setup, so it was sort of unlucky. But now they default again to the same exact position where they're playing this choke, and again, it's rough. I honestly think that this fight is super unlucky because the gate closes on Atlanta, and, like, they can't touch. And I think this is just really dumb. Because, like, they rushed a point here, and then the gate closes, and the shout, and they're forced out, and they got pressured out because they just can't push into a group of 5 people, and they end up, you know, losing. So, that's just unlucky, in my opinion. Okay, last example we're going to see is a spawn hold example. Okay, so again, the same similar concept. I think there's an out here, out here, out here, and I think there's one over there too. What's interesting about this example is, you know, normally you don't want to go out here because there's snipers. I think also this is like a little bit more safer because it's easier to get back and spawn. It's harder to get angled on because it's only one way, so it's more of a straight type of thing. Whereas you come out here, you can get shot at from multiple places. You can just get pinched like that too, whereas here again it's only one angle. But basics again, we're gonna see these guys together. Left's playing a little bit more further up. Why? And this is interesting because there's actually environment that he can abuse. So by him playing further up, he's able to actually inherently do more work. Plus on top of that, he's actually able to just boop them out, and that's just good. So he gets value, plus he's able to peel his Junker Queen and Brig. So if you watch this again, Pelican was up really close looking for an early dynamite because 5-man dynamite, why not? But then you'll sort of notice that Pelican sort of will back up a little bit. Oh, not Pelican, sorry. Isn't it? Merit. Sorry, Merit. Where is Merit? Merit's playing further back. Sorry, Pelican's playing further up. That makes a bit more sense. So Pelican's playing further up, doing Genji things. Merit's further back, you know, playing the long range thing. And because there isn't a lot of natural environment here, you can see that Pelican's actually still playing this side of the map. He's not really playing here. If he played here, he would just take an unnecessary poke and be forced to get packs, and then it would just be a waste of resources. Ideally, when you play this matchup, you want to force their resources first. Unless you have a reason for it. So again, you can just see, like, right now, the actual value that Dante's sort of getting. He has his high ground, he's sort of just swinging. Now, in this situation, Lasher and Dante aren't actually stacked, but it actually ends up working because of how they approach this pinch play. And this is why I say that they're not always going to be together, but generally they're going to be around each other where they can peel each other. You can see the default and they group back together. And now they're just poking. And it's so hard for the enemy team to really push this. Now you can see what the enemy team does is they start going wide, but there's no cover here. Super easy for Merit. And they're just holding a choke and just applying pressure. And letting Merit sort of do things. Yeah, however, I will say it's really smart for Kai to push that long angle because Merit's is on an Ashe, not a Sojourn. Hence, Kai's not really scared of the one-tap anymore. And then just gets a kill because they have to walk forward. And what I want to point out here is look at the space difference. Just like what I'm getting at is like Atlanta's all in open space, and sure, Outlaws might be too, but the fact of the matter is what happened with this fight is that they had to use a lot of resources to walk up, and that's quite rough. Oh, I also will say Pelican is just very good at the game. Just want to show this, and this. So if you look at this, because of how Outlaws is playing and how they're able to hold that choke, inherently they're giving more value to their DPS. So hopefully this makes sense. Actually, wait, I'll show you one thing that Outlaw Rain does after this, so I think is really smart. After this, they rotate the other side and try and do this maneuver. I can't remember if this works or not. I think it does. Another strategy I saw another team do, which always can work too when you're getting spawn held, is you can just telly. So like I saw a team literally like do this where they left someone in spawn and they just tellied over here and then they flipped the map and then the defensive team was like somewhere over here and then they just pushed cart and then they were in the shitty spot while the attacking team had a good choke. And then they had like a Genji sort of just chilling here. And the Genji could just come over here and dash over or just poke from a side. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how to abuse chokes in a Jokes comp. Again, it's very, very similar to regular Brawl. And I hope you noticed that. And I hope you learned a lot.